final show of 2024. We welcome you in the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you for the next 2 hours as we close out 2024 and we welcome in 2025. We are going to look back at the year that was in sports here in Arizona. We are going to give out some New Year's resolutions for the three major professional sports organizations here in town. We have more to unpack from the Corbin Burnes signing, but we start with the football team here in town.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
It's a feeling all too familiar to us here in this town. The football season ends before the last week of the season. The E gets put next to the Cardinals' name in the standings earlier than week 18. Most of the time, earlier than week 17. Normally, one of the first few teams to be eliminated from playoff contention is the Arizona Cardinals, so it is not a feeling that we are unfamiliar with. Attempting to reason with the remainder of the season, attempting to figure out what silver linings could come through the remainder of the season. That is what we attempt to do here to open this show, because what do we need to see from this team on Sunday? Do we need to see anything from this team on Sunday when they finish out their disappointing 2024 campaign? And I don't care what the expectations were coming into the season. I am labeling this season as a disappointment. I am labeling this season as a failure. You go 1-5, potentially 1-6 to close out your season when the playoffs are right there in front of you. Yes, you get the label of disappointment. You get the label of failure. So now that we're here, and we were here on Saturday when they took on the Rams, but here we are with one game to go left in the season. Do we need to see anything from the Cardinals on Sunday? Does a win actually change anything about the way that we feel about this team? Does 2-5 since the bye feel better than 1-6? Does 8-9 feel better than 7-10? I'm not sure. Either result changes how we should feel about this season, about this team, about this collapse in the second half. The draft position doesn't change all that much because of the way it all orders out. They might be able to move up a couple of spots, but a loss doesn't jump them from 14 all the way up to 5. It's not that type of jump. You're talking 2 or 3 spots. They're going to be picking them probably on the outside of the top 10 with a chance to get another young player to build around. So you go into this game on Sunday. If Kyler Murray goes out there, throws for 300-plus yards, throws for 2 or more touchdowns, has a top-tier, S-tier Kyler Murray performance, is it going to change your opinion of Kyler Murray? It's not going to change my opinion of Kyler Murray for him to do this in a game that doesn't matter, not only for the Cardinals, but for their opponent as well. So, is there anything to take from this game on Sunday? Is there anything we need to see? Nothing, big picture-wise, about the 2025 Arizona Cardinals gets answered on Sunday. There is nothing that Marvin Harrison Jr. can do to change that it is a disappointing rookie campaign for the wide receiver. There's nothing Kyler Murray can do to shake off the conversation that we are going to have all offseason long for what feels like the 4th offseason of his, you can't even call it young, career anymore. It's not the first time we will have had that conversation, not the second time, not the third time. How many offseasons have we gone into asking, is Kyler Murray the future of the Arizona Cardinals at quarterback? That conversation doesn't change with the way this team plays on Sunday. Trey McBride, he's a stud. I don't need to see anything from him on Sunday. Budda Baker, here long-term under contract. James Conner, extension. There is nothing of value to gain from this game on Sunday. There is no burning big-picture question that this team can answer on Sunday. And that should show you the crossroads that this franchise is going to find themselves in this offseason. There are other teams across the league where these final games of the season, where it hasn't mattered, where they have been eliminated, have meant something. New England, it means something that Drake May is playing. It means something that Anthony Richardson is getting reps in Indy, even though they were eliminated this past week. It means something to those teams. What can the Cardinals gain from this game? What could they have realistically gained from beating the Rams last Saturday? I'll tell you what they could have gotten from it. They could have avoided perpetuating a long-standing criticism of Kyler Murray and his underperformance against the NFC West. You could have at least, for a second, for a week or two, pushed that to the side. His record would have come back like a bad pimple next season when they were playing meaningful NFC West games, but at least for a brief moment, we could have walked away from that. The Cardinals find themselves this week in one of the worst places that you can be. Eliminated, nothing to play for, the game doesn't mean anything, and there really isn't anything to take away from it. So gladly, this season is going to end for this team, so that we can have and we can see the action that this team is going to make or take in the offseason via free agency, trades, draft, you name it, to improve this roster, to make sure a second-half collapse like this doesn't happen again. Because if they do run it back, if they do make the decision to keep Drew Petzing, to stay with Kyler Murray, and run this thing back and just add to the roster, you bet the hot seat's going to be hot for everybody involved. There is no more wiggle room. You will need to show it. 2024, the book's closed. There are no pages left to be written. There's no ending to this story. It ended when this team was eliminated from the playoffs, because there is nothing that this team can do on Sunday that is going to change the already baked-in narratives around this team. No Kyler Murray performance is going to change his future. If it's a positive performance, it's not going to change our outlook. If it's a negative performance, it's only going to further the take that I had yesterday when we made a declaration here on this show, done with Kyler Murray. Just like we were done with the Phoenix Suns 2 weeks ago, done with Kyler Murray as the franchise quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. There is nothing he can do on Sunday that is going to change my mind. What would change my mind is next season when it matters, when the lights are the brightest, when the stage is the biggest, that this team comes through and doesn't have a 1-5 or 2-5, 1-6 finish to the season. That's how you change a narrative, not a meaningless game on Sunday to end the season. By the way, with the 49ers losing last night, here's what else this poor season for the Cardinals and not finishing the job and making it worth this good start. 6-4, great start, fantastic season, potentially playing your way into a playoff game, home playoff game, division championship, all of that, and you let it go to waste. And what is your parting gift? If this was a game show, what is your prize for that, for now finishing third instead of finishing the job? Well, because you finished third, because the 49ers lost last night, you are locked in to finishing third place in the NFC West. Here are the opponents that you now draw on your schedule outside of all of those NFC West teams. Here are the other teams that you draw next season. How about the Packers at home? How'd that go for you this year in Lambeau? Oh, you get the Bengals on the road in Cincy. They're playing well down the stretch. You'd expect them to be much improved next year. And then a healthy Dallas Cowboys team on the road. If you would have finished in last, again, this team should have made the playoffs. They were good enough. They were in a position to make the playoffs. They didn't. But now that they finished in this middle ground of third place, and the 49ers finished fourth, here's who the 49ers get because they finished fourth. Home game against the Bears, at the Browns, at the Giants. Which schedule would you rather have outside of the NFC West? You'd rather get what the 49ers got. So not only did you fail, not only did you disappoint in the second half of the season, same old Cardinals is the tagline that you can throw out about the way this team played in the second half and crumbled under the pressure, under the magnitude of the moment. Not only did that happen, but you finished in the middle of the NFC West. Your reward is a tougher schedule next season in a make-it-or-break-it year for a lot of parties. That's where the Cardinals find themselves here with one game to go. That's where this franchise sits as 2024 comes to a close, as we are going to turn the calendar to 2025. Maybe if we wanted to be positive here for a second and say, is there anything to gain? That game is going to take place at the start of 2025. How about you start 2025 with a victory? How about that? That's not going to be the official New Year's resolution here for the team. We'll get to that a little bit later on here in the show. But maybe you just give your fan base something positive to start 2025, and it's a launching pad. Maybe you're supposed to be optimistic at the end of the year, right? You're supposed to out with the bad, In with the good, out with the old, in with the new. That's supposed to be the mantra of 2020, or the end of the year, 2024 into 2025, when New Year's rolls around. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to get rid of everything bad that happened, wash your hands of it, turn the page, new story, new chapter. That's what the Cardinals are hoping to do next year. Because this year, and we're going to recap all of these teams here a little bit later on in the show, disappointing, failure, crumbled are words that I would use to describe what we saw from the Arizona Cardinals this season, specifically after the bye week. So no, there's nothing I need to see from this team on Sunday. And I know there's nothing that you need to see from this team on Sunday. What you need to see, just like we all need to see it, is what this roster is going to look like in 2025. What additions are going to be made to fill up the holes on this team that permeated throughout the second half of the season. You have to patch the holes in the wall. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we need to see. Not a win or a loss on Sunday.